Hello everyone, and welcome back. In October of 2021, I moved into the third floor of a Victorian mansion nestled in the west end of the historic city of Portland, Maine. The house was built in the 1890s, but the bedroom that I moved into was lacking a certain aesthetic indicative of the era, and instantly I knew this would have to be remedied. If you have followed along with my Instagram posts about the William Morris wallpaper and the architectural salvage mantle that I restored and installed, then you probably have already seen the reels I posted about this project, which is making a mattress. And yes, you did hear that correctly, I made my own mattress. You see, the bedroom is rather small, and to maximize the amount of usable space, I decided that I would put my bed in the little alcove created by the dormer that peers out from the hipped roof. The bed I previously had was a modern, pillow-topped queen that honestly gave me back pain due to how soft it was. I require a firm mattress, more akin to like a plywood board, so that also needed to change. After much consideration, I decided that a 3/4 size bed was the optimal size to fit the space. 3/4 size bed frames can easily be acquired from nearly any antique shop, and their 4-foot width makes it easy to fit them in, say, the back of an SUV. But the mattresses? Those are a bit more troublesome. 3/4 size mattresses have been out of production for quite some time now. They are larger than a twin, but they are narrower than a full or double size bed. I don't know why exactly they fell out of favor of mass mattress manufacturers, but alas they did, which leads us to this massive undertaking. And in addition to wanting a mattress that will proportionally complement this space, I of course wanted it to fit the aesthetic. Because, obviously. Otherwise, every time I launder my sheets, I'd be reminded of the 21st century, like that 1979 penny that ruined everything in Somewhere in Time.
Oh yeah, this is the best part. There's a special coin compartment for emergency.
To all of you kiddos out there who don't remember, this was like the OG, I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark moment, okay? It was traumatizing. And the whole premise of this film is that this man was able to travel back in time by completely surrounding himself with things from the era that he was trying to travel back to. And I'm not saying that I'm trying to achieve the same thing here, but if you just never saw me again, that's what happened. Okay, so childhood trauma aside, using my late 19th century sewing machine and the rough upholstery skills that I have at my disposal, I just dove in headfirst. The bed, or more specifically just this mattress, is really the final step in recreating this late 19th, early 20th century bedroom. Hello there, from Editing Matthew. I thought I would provide a little bit more insight as to why this is happening, why I'm making my own mattress. Yes, everything I said before is true. 3/4 size mattresses are hard to come by. I need a bed that's gonna fit in the alcove, and custom 3/4 size mattresses are expensive. I don't think I mentioned that, but they are. I looked into it. So, in expressing all of this to a friend of mine, I jokingly brought up, I should just make my own mattress. And they laughed at me and they said, you can't do that. And nothing gets me going more. Nothing quite like a challenge being told I can't do something. And truth be told, I made another mattress prior to this that epically failed. But I learned a lot. And now I made this one, and I'm pretty happy with it. And I hope you are too. Back to the video. Okay, so now that we are fully engrossed in our little spite project, let's get down to how I did this exactly. Based on the mattresses that I had seen from this particular era, I knew I wanted the mattress cover to be made out of ticking fabric. Ticking fabric is a heavy, tightly woven cotton or linen and was originally used to cover mattresses and pillows because it helped to prevent feather filling from poking through. The most common design is a small vertical stripe in muted colors such as gray, blue, brown, and in this case green, which I was ecstatic to find, against a light-colored neutral background. However, as the use of ticking evolved, so did the patterns. I mean, come on, would you just look at it? Just look at it. Look at that.
Look at this. You know, when I see a car like this, first thing I do is I say, would you look at this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
The width of the ticking that I was able to find is 60 inches, and I needed the mattress to have a total perimeter of 246 inches as it is 75 by 48. And because I wanted the ticking stripes to run vertically along the outside of the mattress, that meant that some math had to be done. So, at 60 inches wide, with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, I needed to cut 5 panels of ticking, which would leave me with 295 inches of side panel. I cut them at 9 inches tall to create an 8-inch thick mattress since, for the ease of the mathing, I would have a 1/2 inch seam allowance for that as well. So here I am being a very good noodle and pinning these pieces of fabric together so that when I lay them out flat and iron them, it appears as if the ticking panels line up perfectly as if they have not been stitched together. Now, I'm just going to speed this up because it gets a little boring. Since we're staring directly at her, I figured I would introduce you to the very first treadle I ever acquired. I found her on Facebook Marketplace for around $300, and it just took a little bit of oiling and a little bit of cleaning, and I got her up and running. If you've seen my last video, you know that I restore and refinish antique Singer sewing machines, but this one required very little. The nickel plating is in incredible condition. It's still a mirror finish, and I love sewing on this machine. For those of you who are curious about antique machines, I'll tell you that she is a vibrating shuttle number 2, the precursor to the Model 27, the fiddle base, and she was made in 1892. I wanted the side panels to be quilted, but I didn't want to use up all of the ticking fabric for the back, so I used scrap canvas that I had lying around from another project. I followed the same process of cutting the panels and stitching them together, and then moved on to sandwiching them around some cotton batting. And don't come for me, I know I need to polish that faceplate. It's a little grimy right now with some dried up oil. It's fine, I'll get to it eventually. Putting all of this together and then also pinning it took approximately 8,000 years, and I stabbed myself about 8 million times. Also, what you're looking at here is 2 layers of cotton batting. When I used 1 layer of cotton batting, it just didn't look thick enough, and we were going for maximum floofage here. And extra points to those who know where I'm getting the word floofage from. If you're unfamiliar, it's from a particular YouTuber named Bernadette Banner, who specializes in historical dress. We're big fans here. One of the most frequently asked questions that I receive when working on tasks like this is, what are you listening to? What's in your ears? What podcasts do you have going? And the answer is none. Nothing. I'm not listening to anything. I've never even actually listened to a podcast. I see the app on my phone. I just never really go there. Is that weird? Probably not, right? That's not weird. Totally normal. Just sit in silence. Anyway. Now, as you can see from it now being sunset at this point, yes, it took me hours to pin all of this batting and all of this fabric together. Look at it all. And now to just roll it into a manageable size to take back into my bedroom where I will begin the quilting process. I start this with a long straight stitch along the outside of the panel. I didn't record this, but I did take this back out into the dining room on the table and draw out the pattern that I was going to stitch in, and it's about every 14 ticking stripes is a line. And now I am filling up a bobbin with decorative dark green thread for some pretty top stitching. Alright, so it's very obvious we jumped ahead quite a few steps. I never anticipated to make this into a YouTube video, so bear with me, it's going to be a little bit choppy. But essentially what I did was get some dark green piping from Joann Fabric, as well as some satin binding tape to finish the edges. I stitched the dark green decorative piping down and then covered up the unfinished edge with the satin binding tape. This process was incredibly time-consuming because I needed to make sure that the seam, the actual top stitching, would be so close to the cording that when you fold the cording back over, it's entirely invisible. And I feel like a more skilled person, such as Bernadette Banner or Nicole Rudolph or any of the other amazing seamstresses that exist on the CostTube universe that I somehow found myself in, they probably would have done this by hand. But I did not have really the skill set nor the time to be messing with any of that. So machine stitching we did. And now to finish this edge, I'm essentially stitching on some cording while it's on the edge panel, if this makes any sense. I am kind of like holding in place the cord that I got also from Joann Fabric and just kind of feeling where it is under the edge of the panel, and then just folding over the binding tape over that and stitching the other portion of it down on the other side to hold that in place and kind of make a larger cording on the edge. I hope that makes sense. That's kind of the best way that I can describe it, but you can also see what I'm doing, I hope, possibly, probably. If you have absolutely zero sewing experience, I don't know if I'll be able to make that make sense to you. But here you are. Okay, and we're just gonna speed this up too. I've noticed that in this particular video editing software, I can't really speed it up that fast. And I kind of want you to see what's going on here, but I'm probably just gonna cut it short because I'm sure you get the gist, so. Like with standard cushion upholstery, I measured the length and width of the foam, then cut my fabric accordingly with my 1/2 inch seam allowance for, again, easy math, and here you see that I've stitched it to the side panels. I'm at my favorite antique store while I wait for the upholsterer to open, and this little guy, just chilling. It's called Elmer's Barn, and I've been coming here since I was 5 years old. So, as you heard, I was just at an upholsterer, and this particular upholsterer can make any size, shape, form of latex foam that you want. So he has big sheets of latex foam and he can cut it down to what you need for your particular project. And the reason I went with latex foam is because it's biodegradable, and we love that. Now, remember how I said soft mattresses cause me back pain? At this particular upholsterer, he had many different densities of latex foam and even let me lay on some to test them out. And now, almost a year later, having been sleeping on this mattress every night, I no longer have back pain. And that's saying a lot coming from a former ballet dancer. Now, if I were going for true historical accuracy for this project, I would have had to have sourced metal coil springs that really became popular in the late 19th century and were widely in use in the early 20th century for mass-produced mattresses. Turns out, outside of a salvage yard, they were really hard to come by, and I figured latex foam was the easiest way to get the historic shape that these springs would have given us, a very boxy, square-looking mattress. And what you see me doing here is finishing this one particular edge. After I had assembled everything, this edge was really thick and quite cumbersome to try to put through the machine. And this is not because this is an antique machine. There's this belief that antique machines aren't as capable as modern day machines, and while they may not have preset stitches, these machines have attachments to do all the same cool things. That's a story for a different day, but long story short, I am butchering this invisible stitch in order to close this seam just because the sheer amount of fabric would not fit through it. Anyway, end rant. And now, finally, I present to you the finished mattress. If you stuck around to the end of the video, thank you so much. I hope you found this interesting and informative, and if you did, please go ahead and hit that like button and also subscribe for more weird stuff like this for no reason at all.